Welcome back, participants, our 5-day training program of Women Empowerment for Rural Development. We have come to the third day of our 5-day program. To kind of take you through what we did over the last 2 days, I'll quickly show you the sessions that we have already taken. On the first day, we learned about the concept of gender and basics of women empowerment. Yesterday, we had 2 important sessions, one on entrepreneurship for women empowerment and a second session on social accountability tools for empowerment of women. Today we have with us Dr. Rajesh Kumar Sinha. He is an assistant professor at Center for Social Audit and an expert on decentralized governance and local governance. He has written many books and written many papers on the issues of decentralized governance and social accountability. So today he will be taking a session on local governance and political empowerment of women, followed by a session by Dr. Vanishri Joseph on women empowerment through self-help groups. So Dr. Rajesh, thank you for giving us your time and agreeing to take the session. I'll hand over the session to you. You may please start sharing your screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ruchira. Good afternoon, all the participants. And I am really privileged to take this session. So I'll go to my presentation now. Okay. I think you are able to see it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So as Dr. Ruchira said, this session is on local governance and political empowerment of women. Although it is local governance and that includes urban local governance also, but we are Rural Development Institute and dealing also with the Panchayati Raj, so I will be focusing on rural local bodies, although I will slightly touch upon urban local body also, but mainly I will be focusing on Panchayati Raj. So about this session, first I will be talking in general about the political empowerment of women, and then local governance system in India, then about women's reservation in Panchayati Raj institutions, and then through cases and a few films, I'll be discussing about the achievements of women elected representatives in panchayats, and then challenges faced by these representatives, and what a few of the government and non-governmental initiatives, and it will be followed by the ways forward to further strengthen political empowerment. So basically the women political empowerment means having a political system promoting women's participation in and control of the political decision making process. So important here is that it should promote women's participation as well as a control over the political decision making process. And as you know, women constitute half of the population but have faced political discrimination all over the world in the past, and also facing this discrimination in many parts of the world even now. Actually, even for voting rights, women had to struggle a lot. And New Zealand was the first country which granted voting right in 1893, and even today the Vatican City has not given voting rights. So when the Pope is getting elected, no women participates in that, because the most of the cardinals are actually male. So and Saudi Arabia has granted voting rights to women as recently as 2011, and you know that in 2018 they have granted driving rights to women. So struggle is going on. To ameliorate this situation, many a times this was discussed all over the world. UN adopted the Convention on Political Rights of Women way back in 1953, and it called for no discrimination against women in right to vote as well as contesting election and holding public offices. You know that Beijing conference of 1995 was an important milestone in women's empowerment, and it also called for 30% share in the decision making positions. In India also, participation of women in politics and public life has been very low. And although India has given voting rights immediately after independence, whereas like USA had took almost 100 years after its independence to grant voting rights to women, but still there is a huge difference between political activities of men and women in India beyond voting. In voting, women are participating, but beyond that, it is quite low. And Article 15(3) of the Constitution of India empowers the state to make a special provision for women as well as children. So, using that, several special provisions have been made for women, including no reservation. But SC/STs have got reservation in parliament, whereas women are yet to get reservation in parliament and assemblies. However, you will see that in local bodies they have got reservation. And participation of women at the higher level of governance is low in comparison to a lower level of governance structure. In 17th Lok Sabha, for an example, there are only 78 women. It constitutes 14%, although it is the highest percentage so far, because in first Lok Sabha, there were only 5% women. So one of the reasons why there are less numbers, because they are not given tickets by most of the political parties. So in last election, actually only 9% women candidates were there, and out of most of the parties give reason that the winnability is low. I mean, they will not be able to win the seats, whereas the statistics shows something else, because 9% candidates have won 14% seats. So you will see that right from 1957 till 2019, you will see that the two graphs are there. So you will see that women have won more percentage of seats than men candidates. So that's a myth. The low winnability of women candidate is a myth. In a state legislature also, number of women, or you can say the percentage of women members in total number is quite low. It ranges from 14 to 0. You can see that some states like Bihar, Haryana, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh are faring well. Whereas you will see that some of the northeastern states, which are supposed to be, some of them are matriarchal society, but politically they have not been able to empower women. I'll brief little bit about the local governance in India. There are, you know that there are 3 levels of government: union government, state government, and local government. Local governments are of 2 types: urban local bodies or urban local government, and then rural local government, which are also called Panchayati Raj institutions. They function separately, but there is an institution called District Planning Committee, which is the point of convergence. In this institution, representatives of urban local bodies as well as rural local bodies participate. Panchayati Raj institutions are administered as per the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, and urban local bodies are administered as per 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. And every state has its own legislation based within the broad framework of 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, which gives more details about how these institutions will be formed and function. Briefing about urban local bodies. These are governed by 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, which provides for 3 types of municipal bodies depending on size and area. First is Nagar Panchayat, which is for the area in transition from rural to urban, which has just become urban. And then municipal council for smaller urban areas, and municipal corporation for larger urban areas like big cities, metro cities and all. Some metro cities has multiple municipal corporation also. For example, Delhi has 3 municipal corporations. These have fixed 5-year terms for elected representatives, and functions have been assigned to these urban local bodies, and those functions are listed under 12th schedule of the Constitution. And the Constitution, Article 243T, provides for 1/3 reservation in the seats for women, and 14 states have actually increased this reservation to 50% in case of reservation in urban local bodies. But here the reservation is only for members, not for chairpersons. In case of chairperson, it has been left to the states to decide. So you will have to see the state municipal act to understand it. So like the seats reserved for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, among those reserved seats also the women reservation will be for 1/3. So among the general as well as among the SC/STs, 1/3 reservations have been provided. Panchayati Raj institutions have been part of our tradition. Article 40, which is part of our directive principles of the state policies, that that mentions Gram Panchayat. It says that a state shall take steps to organize village panchayats and endow them with such power and authority as may be necessary to enable them to function as units of self-government. And using that provision, many states actually formed Panchayati Raj institutions starting 1959 in Rajasthan. But there were different provisions in different states, and many times these panchayats were also dissolved at the will of a state government. So and hence, on recommendation of various committees, 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992 was promulgated, and it came into effect in 1994, 24th April, which is also celebrated as Panchayati Raj Divas. And Panchayati Raj institutions are everywhere except Delhi and few states of 6 scheduled areas, particularly in northeastern areas. And apart from this 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, another important act is PESA Act 1996, which governs Panchayati Raj institutions in 5th scheduled areas. These are tribal areas, except the 6 scheduled areas from northeastern areas. So what are the key provisions of 73rd Constitutional Amendment? It provides for 3 tiers of Panchayati Raj institutions. Panchayats are to be formed at the village level and district level, and in between at the intermediate level. This can be at the block or mandal. Whereas the state with population not exceeding 20 lakh have been exempted from having intermediate tier. They can have only 2 tiers. So that's why like smaller states like Sikkim and Goa are having only 2 tiers of Panchayati Raj institutions. It provides for constitution of Gram Sabha. It provides for 5-year tenures for these panchayats and regular elections. And for conducting elections, it provides for a state election commission. Before there were only central election commission, but it provides for a state election commission. It also provides for reservation for SCs and STs and women. For OBCs, state government can decide. State legislatures can decide, and it also provides for a state finance commission, which will recommend division of finances between state and these local governments. And functions which are to be entrusted to panchayats by state legislatures have been listed in 11 schedules, and there are total 29 functions, including primary education, agriculture, and many things. And there are state conformity acts. So all states have their own Panchayati Raj acts, rules, and also executive instruction in the form of government orders. So these are important. Whenever you have to understand Panchayati Raj institutions in a particular state, you have to go through a state Panchayati Raj Act rules and government orders. So about reservation for women in panchayats, Ashok Mehta Committee report in 1978 recommended for co-option of 2 women in panchayats. So where he recommended that where these women have fought elections and have not been able to get elected, so those who have got the highest post should be co-opted, and where they have not contested, I mean no women have contested, then also 2 women, active women, educated women should be co-opted. And in 85 and 96, actually Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh had provided 1/4 reservation for women at the GP level. But the other states did not follow. And National Perspective Plan for Women in which came in 1988, and this plan was to be implemented till 2000, recommended 30% reservation for women in these local bodies. This plan had many recommendations, around 350 recommendations, but this reservation for women in local bodies was also part of that. So Article 243D introduced through 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, which became part of Part 9 of the Constitution. This provides that at least 1/3 of the total number of seats and offices of the chairperson in PRIs at each level be reserved for women. So here there is a difference. In urban local bodies, it is a state legislature which decides in case of chairpersons, whereas in case of PRIs, it has been provided under the Constitution itself. These seats and offices of chairpersons are to be allotted by rotation to different constituencies or different panchayats. Reservation of seats and offices of the chairpersons of women are also within the reservation of SCs and STs. I told you about the urban local bodies, same here applies. So reservation within reservation is also there. and 19 states have proactively enhanced reservation for women from 1/3 to 50%. Bihar was the pioneer. It started, I think, in 2005, and after that, Sikkim and Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and all those states followed. The efforts are on to increase reservation from 1/3 to half to all over India. In fact, a bill was also approved by Union Cabinet way back in 2009 when Dr. Manmohan Singh was Prime Minister. But somehow, like, it could not see the light of the day. So which are these states where 50% reservations are there? Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra, Odisha, Rajasthan, Tripura, Uttarakhand, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Assam, Bihar, Tamil Nadu, Telangana. Sikkim has slightly less, it has 40% reservation. There are approximately 13.45 lakh elected women representatives in Panchayati Raj institutions. So overall, around 31 lakh Panchayat representatives are there. Out of that, 13.45 lakh elected women representatives are there. It constitutes nearly 46% of the total number of elected representatives. So 2018 data shows that it ranges from 59 to some well below around 30%. So why it is 30%? Maybe because in some Gram Panchayats some elections might not have happened. Otherwise, it should be minimum 33%. Somebody is trying to speak. Okay, I'll continue. So you see that Jharkhand, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, they are having, in fact, Kerala also it's having more than 50% elected women representatives. So actually, in states, for example, in states like Haryana, it is said that if a woman gets elected as Sarpanch, then Gram Panchayat goes behind for 10 years. So it is like it is a myth. You know, many women elected representatives have shown over the years that they can bring change in their Gram Panchayats. So I would like to, of course, many challenges are there that I will be sharing, but first I will be discussing some of the achiever women elected representatives. There are many, but you know, some which I have read somewhere, so I am sharing. So one of them is a woman Sarpanch from Dhauj Gram Panchayat in Faridabad district, where I have visited also. She is a young woman Sarpanch and has been working towards empowerment of women. She has established institutes for skill development of women and girls, and computer training, particularly mobile computer training for girls and women. She has also been motivating school girls to exert their rights and particularly their legal rights and all that. And she has also campaigned against Parda system, which is very prevalent in Haryana. And she started a campaign, Selfie Without Ghungat, which became very popular. And she has also installed CCTV all over the Gram Panchayats. More than 100 CCTVs have been installed, and these are monitors 24 hours from the Gram Panchayat office. In Soda Gram Panchayats of Tok districts of Haryana, another young Sarpanch is there who is an MBA and was working with Airtel, and is highly educated, and she decided to get elected as Sarpanch, and then she has ensured clean water, solar power, paved roads and pavements, toilet facilities, banks to the village, and she has also ensured nearly 100% individual household latrines. And actually, before the SPM was launched, this GP had already achieved 90% IHHL. And she has been invited to various forums to deliver lecture. In fact, she has taken a session to IAS trainees in Mussoorie. I am taking a session. Sorry, somebody was at the door. Another Gram Panchayat is Dhani Mia Khan GP in Haryana. It's in Fatehawad district. She has also campaigned for women empowerment and against Gungat system. She herself has thrown away her parda, and she has ensured that every child goes to school, and GP has won many awards and has good sanitary condition. It has zero dropout. It has best sex ratio among all the Gram Panchayats in Haryana. So that's a big achievement. And Dunkapada Gram Panchayats in Odisha, there is a woman Sarpanch who was former investment banker. She decided to be a Sarpanch, and she has launched campaign to revive traditional folk art in her village, which has benefited rural women in a big way. And she has ensured effective implementation of PDS, public distribution system, launched literacy campaign for adult non-literates, and she has been invited to be part of international visitor leadership program by the US consulate. So that's a big achievement. There is another Gram Panchayat in Badkheri Abdullah in Bhopal district of Madhya Pradesh. The young woman Sarpanch returned from United States. She was studying there, and then she returned and decided to be Gram Panchayat. This Gram Panchayat became among the first GPs to have declared ODF. She is ensuring effective implementation of government schemes. There is full coverage of PDS, 100% financial inclusion, full coverage of soil health card. The streets are well constructed and very clean. She has ensured free weekly medical checkup. So that she has also been invited to various talks. In fact, she has delivered TED Talks. If you know, TED Talks is very important, lecture. Then Khetri Gram Panchayat, some are high profile, sarpanches, but usual common women have also been achiever, like Khetri Gram Panchayat in Assam, Kamrup rural district. I have been to that Gram Panchayat. I have met that lady. She has done wonders. She has done a lot of work in women's empowerment as well as infrastructure development of the Gram Panchayat. Like she has achieved 100% institutional delivery 100% immunization, 100% drinking water coverage, 100% sanitation coverage, 80% all-weather road connectivity in the GP, organized health camps, organized legal literacy camp for women, provided shelter to victims of domestic violence and destitute women. So I am telling this, she has done uh, about 4 or 5 years back only when I had visited. Naam Khana Gram Panchayat, the ex-woman Pradhan of Naam Khana Gram Panchayat of South 24 Pargana. She has also done a lot of work for women and children. She has ensured functional standing committee on women and children. She has emphasized on formation of self-help groups, joyful learning and nutritious food for children, and GP also maintains records and all that very well. So she has also done very good work in her Gram Panchayat. There is another Gram Panchayat where you can say she is not common, she is high profile in the sense that she is wife of an IAS officer, decided to be Gram Panchayat of Sonbarsa Gram Panchayat in Sitamarhi district of Bihar. But she has done very good work in terms of economic empowerment of women and girls, as well as ensuring implementation of public works in the Gram Panchayats. This year, in the ensuing elections, she is a candidate in the MLA election. Another common ex-Pradhan from a GP called Swami Vivekanand in South 24 Pargana. She has done wonders in terms of increasing our OSR collection, own source revenue. You know that raising taxes in the village, even in urban areas, in that sense, is very difficult. And she has increased from 35,000 in the first year to rupees 27 lakhs in fifth year. That's a big achievement. So you will see that there are many women elected representatives, sarpanches, as well as ward members who have done very exemplary and commendable work in not only empowerment of women, but also the development of their respective gram panchayats. And generally speaking, we can say that women elected representatives have done better in comparison to their male counterparts in certain areas. For example, provision of water, then provision of sanitation facilities, then health services, education of children, then tackling declining sex ratio, then tackling domestic violence, then sexual harassment, dowry cases, then child marriage, banning liquor sale and consumption and corruption. All these, like particularly the social issues and human development related issues, women elected representatives have been more sensitive and more proactive in comparison to male elected representatives. So I will show you 2-3 small, video clips about few, common elected representatives who have done commendable works.
ये कहानी है बिहार राज्य के जमुई जिला के झाझा ब्लॉक स्थित सिमर का गांव की। गांव की महिला अगर ठान ले तो बदलाव संभव है, फिर चाहे वो महिला सरपंच हो या वार्ड सदस्य हो। रूखी सूखी खाई के ठंडा पानी। कबीर के इस भाव को जीवन में उतार पाने के लिए लालायित रहे सिमर का गांव के लोग। कारण था सदियों से सिमर का गांव के लोग साफ पानी पीने के मोहताज थे। लगभग 300 आबादी वाले इस गांव में पानी के स्रोत के रूप में 1.5 किलोमीटर दूर स्थित पहाड़ी नदी कटेला है। सिमर का गांव की महिलाओं की पूरी जिंदगी पानी लाने में गुजर जाती थी। लड़कियों की पढ़ाई छुड़वाई जाती थी और तो और सिमर का गांव बीमारी और गरीबी का दंश झेल रहा था। लोग पलायन के लिए मजबूर थे। वर्ष 2011 में जब लोगों ने कलावती को वार्ड सदस्य बनाया तो ये शर्त रखी कि सबसे पहले गांव में पानी की व्यवस्था हो। खुद पानी की समस्या को झेल चुकी कलावती के लिए ऐसा करना सबसे बड़ी जिम्मेदारी थी। कलावती ने वार्ड सभा में इस समस्या के समाधान पर चर्चा की और लोगों को ब्लॉक और जिला जाने के लिए तैयार किया। पानी के लिए पटना जाना पड़ेगा, जम्मू जाना पड़ेगा, जाओगी? कलावती अपने अपराजिता संगठन की महिलाओं के साथ बीडीओ, डीएम और क्षेत्र के विधायक व मंत्री दामोदर रावत से मिली। कलावती के अथक प्रयास से आज इस वार्ड में 3 हैंडपंप लगे हैं, जिनके पानी से गांव के लोग अपनी रोजमर्रा की जरूरतों को पूरा करते हैं। अपने काम से कलावती ने ये साबित कर दिया कि सशक्त नेतृत्व देने में महिलाएं सक्षम हैं। जरूरत है उन्हें अवसर देने की।
Another I will show you.
आइए आपको सुनाते हैं हरियाणा के करनाल जिले की ग्राम पंचायत चंद समन की कहानी। सही मायनों में महिला से समाज बनता है, दुनिया सजती है और महिला जब विकास की सूत्रधार बनती है तब तरक्की के नए आयाम सामने आते हैं। आप है हरियाणा के करनाल जिले के गांव चांद समन की सरपंच श्रीमती बबली राणा। सरपंच चुन्नी से ढककर रहने वाली, गांव के संस्कार और परंपरा को जीने वाली श्रीमती बबली राणा जब गांव चांद समन की सरपंच बनी तो इन्होंने साबित कर दिया कि पंचायती राज व्यवस्था के अंतर्गत जब कोई महिला सरपंच बनती है तो पंचायत सार्थक विकास की राह की ओर बढ़ता है। सरपंच श्रीमती बबली राणा ने जो विकास का कार्य किया वो कमाल है। ये रिकॉर्ड सिस्टम है। गांव की नाली से सारा गंदा पानी पहले तालाब में जमा होता है और फिर थोड़ा साफ होकर दूसरे तालाब में जाता है और फिर पशुओं के पीने लायक जैसा साफ पानी तीसरे तालाब में जमा होता है। पर्यावरण की दृष्टि से ये कमाल की उपलब्धि है। गांव स्वच्छ और निर्मल हो गया है। गांव का जल स्तर काफी ऊपर आ गया है और इस तालाब के किनारे हरियाली के साथ ये शानदार पार्क जो बच्चों से भरा रहता है, यहाँ बड़े बुजुर्ग और महिलाएं भी आती रहती हैं। श्रीमती बबली राणा ने पंचायत के स्कूल के लिए पूरी 5 एकड़ जमीन दी और पंचायत के फंड से स्कूल का निर्माण करवाया। स्कूल भी ऐसा कि जहाँ लड़कों और लड़कियों के लिए अलग अलग शौचालय तो है ही, दिव्यांग बच्चों के लिए भी अलग शौचालय है और इस स्टेडियम की शुरुआत श्रीमती बबली राणा ने ही करवाई। अभी दीवार और गेट बने, कल यहाँ जिला और राजस्थान के खेल भी होंगे। श्रीमती बबली राणा ने नदी ऊर्जा के स्रोत सोलर ऊर्जा से गांव की गली को रोशन कर दिया।
शर्त भी आती है, बर्दाश्त करते हैं। गांव में स्टेडियम बनवाया और शौचालय बनवाया, 3 पॉइंट सिस्टम जो करवा के थी। गांव मतलब कोई बीमार है यहाँ मतलब बाहर नहीं जाता, शौचालय में जाते हैं।
करनाल जिला प्रशासन ने श्रीमती बबली राणा को इस महत्वपूर्ण उपलब्धि के लिए सम्मानित किया। पंचायती राज व्यवस्था से श्रीमती बबली राणा जैसी महिला उपज कर बाहर आई और राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर महिलाएं सशक्त हुई।
I will show you another.
ये झारखंड के रांची जिले की नागपुर प्रखंड की महिलाओं ग्राम पंचायत की सफलता की कहानी। रांची जिले के इस छोटे से खूबसूरत घने जंगल को देखने लोग दूर दूर से आते थे। पिकनिक जैसा माहौल रहता था, लेकिन प्रकृति के इस उपहार पर कुछ तस्करों की नजर लग गई। तेजी से जंगल काटे जाने लगे, हरियाली खत्म होने लगी।
पंचायत में जंगल है, जंगल के कटने से बहुत खराब स्थिति हो गई थी। दूर दूर से लोग आते थे, पूरे जंगल को काट
वन रक्षा समिति ने लिया जंगल बचाने का जिम्मा। आज फिर से महिलाओं की जंगल गुलजार होने लगी है।
बाबू लोग, आज कोई मापका इधर जंगल काटने आया था क्या?
नहीं, क्या तो सब तक ठीक ठाक है। अभी हम की बात होती है, हम घूमते होते हैं, थोड़ा कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होती है।
देखिए, हम लोग डेली आएंगे इधर जंगल देखने के लिए।
ठीक है, तो क्या कोई दिक्कत नहीं, हम लोग इधर हैं।
और अभी हम लोग का जंगल काटना भी बहुत कम हो गया है, पर अभी नहीं काट रहा है। हम लोगों ने कुछ जुर्माना भी लगा दिया है, जिससे आदमी सतर्क हो गया है और अभी काटने के लिए नहीं आ रहे हैं। गांव में गए थे, मतलब जो काट काट के लगा रहा था ना, उसको भी बोलते थे, लेकिन पहले वो नहीं मानती थी, तो फिर हम लोग महिला गांव का निकले। जंगल से जाने लगे ना, तो सबको डर हो गया। तो हम लोग उन लोगों को बोल भी रहे थे कि नहीं काटेगा जंगल, तो अभी तो नहीं कटाई हो रहा है। जिस तरह हम लोग पानी बिना नहीं रह सकते हैं ना, उसी प्रकार हम लोग हवा बिना भी नहीं रह सकते। मेरे गांव के चारों तरफ कल कारखाने हैं, इतना प्रदूषित होता है वातावरण, इसलिए हम लोग जंगल बचाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं।
जंगल बचाने की कोशिश का नतीजा दिखने लगा है। पर्यटक फिर से आने लगे हैं। पंचायत और ग्रामीणों की इस सक्रियता के कारण महिलाओं को संसद आदर्श ग्राम योजना में भी चुन लिया गया है। कुछ अच्छा करने के लिए बस शुरुआत करनी होती है, बाकी तो खुद ही हो जाना है। महिलाओं की कहानी तो यही बताती है।
So thank you for watching this. Actually, you will see that in various fields like these elected women representatives have made a lot of difference. You know, be it health, be it education, be it even say environmental conservation, anything. You name anything, they have done a lot of things. But that does not mean they are not facing challenges. So let us discuss what challenges they are facing. Like first and the most important challenge is the patriarchal mindset. You know, the husbands and other family members of these elected women representatives try to control them and influence their decisions. Many times you will see that these sarpanch pati phenomenon, you will see that women elected representatives are just as a rubber stamp, whereas their husbands or their fathers are controlling. So this phenomenon has become a bottleneck for elected women representatives to come out of the shadow and work for themselves and for the community. Then the Parda system, as you have seen particularly in states like Haryana, Punjab and all those northeastern like western Uttar Pradesh, Parda system is very prevalent. There they find it very difficult to interact with the community, particularly with the elderly population freely. And they find it difficult to move also to outside Gram Panchayats. And then violence, domestic violence also they have faced because they have to sometimes they need to go out and stay a little later and something to carry out their official responsibilities, which sometimes creates problems within the household and leads to domestic violence. Sometimes they have to compromise with their household responsibility, which also leads to conflict. And outside also they have faced violence because of the patriarchal mindset. Generally, male do not accept the leadership of women, and they somehow try to create problems, and sometimes they also uh, indulge in violent behavior. Particularly whenever we have observed that women sarpanch are trying to remove encroachment on public land, then they are they have faced violence many a times, and then they also have burden of household responsibility. So apart from the responsibility of the Gram Panchayats, they are not freed from the household responsibilities. There are very few, family members and husbands who actually cooperate with them, and then so they have to do both the work. That's a burden. And then male elected representatives and male staff of the Gram Panchayats, many times they also do not cooperate. This has, panchayats have largely been uh, male domination earlier. So they think that it is their domination is being encroached upon by women. So they do not cooperate, and they also doubt the capacities of women. And the staff also, due to various reasons, they also many a times do not cooperate with the elected women representatives. Caste system is another bottleneck. Particularly the elected women representatives from SC/ST communities, they face resistance from general caste communities. So in Gram Sabha, in other like institutions also, they are resisted upon by general community. And in the meetings of Gram Panchayats and standing committees, and also like elected representatives from the general caste, and even the elected women representatives belonging to general caste, they do not cooperate with elected women representatives from these marginalized communities like SC/ST. So many times because of this caste system, they face discrimination and lack of cooperation, which makes it difficult for them to work. And it has been observed that many times no confidence motion have been brought against SC and ST women sarpanches, particularly when deputy sarpanches, up sarpanches are from general caste. And then whenever these elected women representatives try to work on social issues or gender related issues, many a time these caste panchayats, like Khap panchayats in Haryana and Western UP, these caste panchayats put pressure on them, and they defy the legal norms uh, and the GP's resolutions. Then they also face non-cooperation from officials. Many times the government officials and functionaries do not recognize the legal and political authority of elected women. They want to, meet their husbands, or they think that they are just rubber stamp, even if they have got elected on their own, but initially they are doubted. The one case that I discussed about the Barkheri Abdullah, the girl who returned from United States after education. So when she first went to meet BDO, she was saying that the BDO asked, "Are you the Sarpanch or your father?" So she got very annoyed, and she started shouting at BDO only. And after that, then the BDO realized that he has done a mistake. So many a times these officials do not recognize their authority. And then elected women representatives also find it difficult to visit block offices which has become a practice. Nowadays, any Gram Panchayat, if any work has to be done, any amount has to be sanctioned, and then they have to visit block many a times. Just writing or sending resolutions does not bring fruit. So this has kind of become practice, and male elected representatives have been doing it and keeping these block offices in good humor. Whereas elected women representatives find it very difficult and harassing. Then corrupt practices by particularly block level engineers and development officers, that also like deters these elected women representatives, and many a times they do not want to be re-elected. Seeing all these experiences, many a times they decide not to be contesting again. And then the influence of MLAs and MPs. So block officials are under the influence of MLAs and MPs. So even if there are some genuine demands of these women representatives, they are these demands are met only when MLAs and MPs also agree to that. Then inadequate and poor capacity building of these elected women representatives also creates bottleneck for them, because many of them are not so educated. They have been elected for the first time. Actually, one survey which was conducted way back in 2008 by Ministry of Panchayati Raj. At that time, 86% of elected women representatives were elected for the first time. So most of them are new, and so they do not have any exposure of public life or Panchayati Raj institutions. So if they do not have earlier exposure and capacity building is not adequate, then it becomes difficult for them to function effectively. So it has been observed that induction training, 100% coverage is not there in many states, and it is also delayed. So as per the recommendation of capability building framework, within 6 months this induction training must happen. But many a times it takes 1 year, 2 years for induction training to happen. And many a times the coverage is 50%, 60%. And most of the time the ward members are not covered fully. Sarpanches are covered, but ward members are not covered. Then there are family restrictions on attending residency training. If there is a day-long training, then it's all right. But if they have to go and stay there for a week or so, then many a times family do not allow. So that also becomes a reason for dropout. And many times these trainings lack practical orientation. They are theoretical, and these women representatives find it difficult to understand, and then the kind of practical issues and problems that they are facing, those are not solved. And then many times because trainers are not well equipped, these trainings are non-participatory, and delivery is so poor that these women representatives who have not been in practice of attending these kind of programs, they find it very difficult to hold their attention, and hence the retention is very low. And then after induction training, refresher trainings are supposed to happen at the regular interval. maybe 6 monthly or yearly, but that hardly happens. Except a few states, refresher trainings do not happen. Then these elected representatives also require regular hand holding, because if they get one-time induction training, they go back, and then if they face any kind of practical issues and problems, at that time they need some mentor and then some trainers to whom they can go back and get the practical solutions. The rotation of terms, like after every term, the reservation, the seat gets de-reserved and another seat is selected for reservation. So that rotation of terms also hinders consolidation of leadership qualities among elected women representatives. It has been seen that, that same survey of the 2008 has shown that about 40% of the Gram Panchayat, 40% of elected women representatives said that they did not contest again because that seat got de-reserved. So that is one of the reasons why they did not contest. So it takes time for leadership qualities to develop. So once it takes 3-4 years, and if such rotation is for 2 terms, then it will be better, because next term that representative can perform even better. So far only 5 states like Chhattisgarh, Kerala, Himachal Pradesh, Odisha and Karnataka have made provision for 2 terms reservation of seats and offices of chairpersons. Then another bottleneck is 2-child norms. Still there are few states which follow 2-child norm. So any women who are having more than 2 children are unable to contest panchayat elections. So this provision excludes particularly women from disadvantaged groups, particularly from SC, STs and poor community, because mostly they do not have any say in deciding how many children they will be having. Then another challenge is there are very few panchayat functionaries who are women. So how this affects the patriarchal mindset among the community, make it difficult for elected women representatives to freely interact with male functionaries. Even if they are confident, many times they do not want to be openly seen as interacting with male functionaries, because then many people will start spreading rumors and this and that, So because of that thing, many times they get discouraged from interacting freely. Similarly, generally speaking, they find it more comfortable with women functionaries. So wherever these women functionaries are there, they are comfortable. Whereas the reality is that there are very few women panchayat secretaries. In fact, I have visited many gram panchayat, but except one, I have not met any women panchayat secretary anywhere in any state. I must have visited at least 200, 300 gram panchayats, but I have not met women panchayat secretaries. And then these panchayat secretaries have additional charge. So these male panchayat secretaries will be visiting many gram panchayats, and sometimes they don't find time to visit these gram panchayats, and sometimes sarpanches have to visit to block offices to get their work done, to get some paper signed by panchayat secretaries. In case of women sarpanches, they find it very difficult in case male panchayat secretaries do not visit their gram panchayats, and they request these women sarpanches to come to block offices to get the work done. It becomes too difficult for them. What initiatives Government of India has made over the years? Yeah, I told you about that study. The first All India study on elected women representatives was commissioned by Ministry of Panchayati Raj in 2008. After that, no All India study has happened. Then 50% reservation for women in PRIs have been considered. I told you in 2000, since 2009, it has been under consideration. Although there are some resistance from some states, including a big state like Uttar Pradesh, and you know that Uttar Pradesh has nearly 1/4 of the gram panchayats in India, and if Uttar Pradesh resists, it becomes very difficult for central government to actually do it. So in Panchayat, there was a scheme called Panchayat Mahila Evam Yuva Shakti Abhiyan. Under this, many district and state level conferences and have been of elected women representatives have been held. These conferences have been held to articulate the problems that they are facing, then discuss issues regarding institutionalization of their empowerment. And in these meetings, conferences, they have also come out with the charter of demands. And they have also formed association of elected women representatives. But unfortunately, this started around 2009, but this scheme has been wound up in 2013 and actually have been subsumed under RGPSA, which now is known as RGSA. So there is no separate scheme now to promote and empower women elected representatives at the central level. Then Ministry of Panchayati Raj has also issued advisory to states to ensure safety of elected women representatives, and particularly female sarpanches, particularly from those from weaker sections. And the advisory also says that states should take measures to stop sarpanch pati phenomenon or proxy system. The National Capability Building Framework of the Ministry of Panchayati Raj recommends customized training program for elected women representative based on training need assessment. So suppose there is a need of functional literacy program to be undertaken, that need to be undertaken. If there is need for a leadership training program, that need to be undertaken. So all these have been recommended. Ministry of Women and Child Development, in collaboration of Ministry of Panchayati Raj, has undertaken country-wide training program for elected women representatives in various areas. And in 3-4 states, 3-4 years, around 40,000 elected women representatives have been trained. NIPSID was also involved in NIRT PR was also involved in a couple of states, and very nice module has been prepared for this training. Panchayati, then PRN and SHG CBO convergence project under NRLM has also been an important initiative. Under these SHG leaders and community resource persons have been oriented on Panchayati Raj, and they are trained to identify issues and raise issues and participate in Gram Sabha, and in the process they interact with the elected representatives and of panchayats, and also become a kind of support group to elected women representatives, because many a times these elected women representatives come from the SHG background, so some kind of mutual support group emerges. Then certain special events have also been organized for orientation of women sarpanches at the national level. For example, in Vijayawada in 2016, for women representatives of fifth schedule areas, it was organized. And recently in 2019, at Gwalior, another such program was organized. Then MOPR also through its newsletter and through YouTube channel shares the good practices in women-led Gram Panchayats. And NIRDPR has also organized national conferences of elected women representatives and documented the success stories. I remember 2 years back on 8th March on International Women's Day, one such program was organized by CGST only, where Dr. Ruchira works. Some states have also taken initiative. For example, Jharkhand SIRD has a women's resource center supported by UNICEF, State Women Commission and Manthan Yuva Sansthan. Kila has conducted special training for women chairpersons of standing committees on leadership. MP government has conducted pilot training programs for women sarpanches of Umaria district. Maharashtra government organizes non-residential training program for elected women representative under its Kranti Jyoti program project, which has become very famous. It has a training component, hand-holding component, and there is a dedicated helpline also in case these elected women representatives need any support anytime. Then Haryana has a Sakshar Mahila Samuh, a group of educated women in villages. So these women groups become support groups. Similarly, Mahila Mandals of Himachal Pradesh also become support groups of elected women representatives. Many a times from these groups only some women have emerged and contested elections and become sarpanches. There are many non-governmental initiatives also, like UNDP, UN Women has supported many non-governmental initiatives in past years. There is an organization called the Hunger Project, which has organized women leadership development programs in various states. Center for Social Research, another NGO, has carried out a project, 4 or 5 years long project for capacity building of elected women representatives to manage water conservation projects in their areas. Then Institute of Social Sciences, another big NGO based in Delhi, organizes national level conferences of elected women representatives, many times on International Women's Day or on Panchayati Raj Divas on 24th April. And Priya, another NGO, has facilitated creation of network of elected women representatives. It has organized Kisori Panchayats in many areas. It also organizes pre-election voter awareness campaign, and it helps potential women candidates in filing nominations and how they can run campaigns. Then what are the way forward? What can be done to further strengthen the women in political empowerment in local government? Some enabling legal provisions should be there, like 1/3 reservation of women in parliament and legislative assemblies will give boost to political empowerment in local governments also, because they will see that that is their next progression. So many women will come forward. Or
Dr. Rajesh,
yeah.
sorry to kind of stop you in between. You have 5 more minutes, and then our next guest speaker will join.
Yeah, I'm
So,
finished.
yeah, okay, okay.
So, and then All India 50% reservation, then rotation of seats only after 2 terms, then removal of 2 child norms and educational criteria, law against the Sarpanch Pati phenomenon, then making it mandatory to have women at chairpersons of a few standing committees, like on women and child development, education, health and sanitation. Then minimum 50% presence in the meetings of Gram Panchayat and standing committee. Then 50% women quorum in the Gram Sabha. Then women leadership development, like identifying potential leaders from SHGs, adolescent groups, Mahila Sabha, women collectives, social activists, and groom them to take up leadership positions in Gram Sabha. Then, creating network of elected representatives, like network of elected representatives at different level, at the level of block, district, state, and ensuring periodic get together to exchange ideas, issues, solutions, and so also to orient them on new developments in Panchayati Raj. Then linking these women collectives, some collectives, to Panchayati Raj institutions, like SHG groups, their federations, Union of Anganwadi workers, ASHA workers, civil society organizations working on women's rights, Department of Women Studies, social work. These can be linked to panchayats in their areas, and a kind of mutual support should emerge. Then spatial capacity and hand-holding support to women elected representatives, like functional literacy, then exposure visit, regular refresher training, hand-holding support, that is very important, with trainers on call, mobile trainers, women mentors. Then promoting women participation in Gram Sabha. If more women come in Gram Sabha and participate and raise their voice, that will support women elected representatives. And through mobilization of SHG members, Mahila Sabha, Kishori Sabha, this can be done. Then sensitization of male representatives. Then husbands, fathers and elected women representatives and officials. Appointment of women panchayat secretaries through reservation or incentives such as free accommodation and security. Celebration and recognition of achievements of women elected representatives. Wherever their achievements have been recognized and they have got some award, they have become further motivated and they have done wonders in later years. Then recognition and award of districts and states where more elected representatives are elected, women are elected than general seats. And then government sponsored studies on the status of women elected representatives. All India studies need to be done. So, I mean, advocacy should be based on evidence, and then data management should be there. enough data should be there about how they are functioning and their social and economic status and their educational status and all that, so that certain policy decisions can be taken. So that's from my side. Thank you. If you have any questions or any queries, you can always post.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajesh. Thank you for this